This is Metatherapy, where we talk about therapy itself, not advice, not diagnosis, just understanding the process so you can use it better. Each episode of Metatherapy is psychoeducation, not therapy. If something resonates, it's meant to be language you can bring back into your own work. Good morning, and welcome to Meditation Monday. If you've been here before, you know that this is a space to actually slow down, not just to hear about slowing down, but to practice it. So I'm glad you're here. Today, we're going to walk through with something that shows up in my clinical practice more than almost anything else: the inner critic. That voice, the one that says, you should have handled that better. The one that replays the conversation from 3 weeks ago. The one that wakes up before you do. Most of us have been taught to fight that voice, argue with it, positive affirmation it into submission, or just try to ignore it. And if you've tried these things, you probably know they don't really work, at least not long term. Today, we're going to try something a little different. We're going to meet it. This practice is rooted in a therapeutic framework called internal family systems, or IFS for short. And the core idea is this: the inner critic isn't your enemy. It's a part of you that's working very hard to keep you safe, using methods that probably made more sense when you were younger. When we stop fighting it and get curious instead, something shifts. The critic doesn't need to shout as loud. So let's find out together. Go ahead and find a comfortable position. You can close your eyes if that feels right, or let your gaze soften downward, whatever helps you turn your attention inward. Take a breath in through your nose and let it out through your mouth. Try to let that exhale be a little longer than the inhale, like you're releasing something that you've been holding. Take another one, breathing in. Notice where your body is making contact with whatever is supporting you right now. Your feet on the floor, your body against the chair, the weight of your own body being held. You don't have to earn this moment. You don't have to arrive having done anything correctly. You're just here. So let's just stay with that for another breath or two. Now, gently, I'd like you to turn your attention inward to that familiar critical voice. You know the one that shows up when you make a mistake, the one that compares, the one that says, not good enough, the one that gets mirrored back after watching a few reels or seeing a friend's Instagram post. Don't try to summon it forcefully. Just notice if it's already there. It usually is. Research tells us that self-criticism is present across nearly every major mental health condition, from depression and anxiety to eating disorders and OCD. It's one of the most common human experiences and one of the hardest to shift through insight alone. Here's the first thing I want you to try. Instead of identifying with the voice, instead of saying, I'm being too hard on myself, see if you can say this instead. There's a part of me that's being very critical right now. Did you feel a shift with that? Maybe even a small one? That tiny linguistic move from I am to there's a part of me is actually doing something important. You're creating a little space between you and the voice. You're noticing it rather than being it. In IFS, we call this unblending, and it's the beginning of everything. See if you can locate this part somewhere, not as a concept, but as an experience. Does it show up as a voice, a tightness somewhere in your body, an image, maybe a feeling? Do not have to have a clear picture. A vague sense is plenty. Just acknowledge something is here. I have a friend, I'll call her Marisol. And she said her inner critic always showed up in her chest. Not as a voice, but as a kind of clenching. And for months, she'd been treating it as a physical problem. When she started to relate to it as a part, as something with a purpose, she said it was the first time she'd ever felt like she had a choice about what to do with it. Now, I want to ask you a question, and it might feel a little strange. How do you feel towards this part right now? Not what do you think about it? How do you feel toward it? Maybe you feel annoyed. Maybe there's resentment, like, I wish this thing would just go away. Maybe there's fear. Maybe there's shame about even having it. That's one that I get. How could I, as a therapist, be so self-critical when part of my job is to help others not be so self-critical? And yet, we're all on a journey together. These are all real responses. And here's what they tell us. There are other parts of you weighing in right now. Other parts that have their own feelings about the critic. If you notice strong judgment or irritation toward the critic, see if you can gently acknowledge those parts too. Something like, I notice there's a part of me that's frustrated with this voice. I see you. You can step back just for a little while. What we're looking for, what we're making room for, is a quality that in IFS is called self energy. It has a particular feeling, a little like calm curiosity, not clinical distance, not forced positivity, just openness. Like you're meeting something for the first time and you actually want to understand it. If you can find even a small thread of that, of curiosity toward that part, that's enough. From that place, see if you can ask the critic internally, what are you trying to do for me? You might not get a clear answer, and that's okay. You might just get a feeling or an image or nothing at all. And that's fine too. The critic is often trying to keep us safe from things like rejection, embarrassment, failure. And it learned this strategy from somewhere. It's doing its best with old information. IFS research consistently finds that inner critics, however harsh, are functioning as what we call protectors. They often develop in childhood as a response to experiences of shame, rejection, or unpredictability. They believed and still believe that harsh self monitoring keeps us safe. Now, if you're willing, I'd like you to let this part know something. Not that it has to leave, not that it's been doing it wrong. It's nothing worse than a critic of a critic, but that you're here, that you see it, that it's not alone in doing this job anymore. You can say this internally in whatever ways feels right to you. I see you. I know you've been working hard. I am not here to get rid of you. I just want to understand you a little better. Notice what happens, even very subtly, when you offer that. Sometimes the critic softens even just a little. Sometimes it just pauses. Sometimes nothing shifts at all. And that's okay too. You're not trying to fix it in a single sitting. You're just introducing yourself. I have another friend, I'll call him David, who had a relentlessly self critical voice around his work. He was a high achiever by any external measure, but privately, he believed nothing he did was ever enough. When he first tried this practice, he said the critic didn't soften, it got louder. But he kept at it. A few weeks later, I saw him and he said, it's still there, but it felt like it was trying to talk to me instead of at me. And see, that's the shift. That's the beginning of a different relationship. See if you can ask the part, what would it need to relax, even just a little? What would it need to feel like you could handle things without it being quite so loud? You might get an answer, you might get silence, and either is fine. Just sit with whatever is here. All right, let's begin to come back. Take a breath in and out. Go ahead and notice your body again, where it's being supported, the weight of you in your seat, your feet on the floor. Before you open your eyes fully, I want to name something. The goal of this practice isn't to silence your inner critic. It isn't to be relentlessly positive. It isn't to trick yourself into feeling good. It's to build a relationship with a part of you that has been working very hard, often without your knowledge, for a very long time. When that part feels seen, doesn't need to work as hard. And when it doesn't need to work as hard, you have more room for clarity, for choice, for something other than self judgment. And that's what we're moving toward. Not in one session, but over time. I think the relationship with the critic is often more powerful than trying to override it. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. Let yourself reorient to the room. I just want to be the first to acknowledge, nice work today. Well done. That's Meditation Monday for this week, a practice you can return to, this specific one or any version of it. The more that we check in with our inner critic rather than fight it, the more that relationship can change. If today's practice sparked something, I want to tell you what's coming up on Tuesday, tomorrow, because it's directly connected. We're going to look at what technology, apps, tools, AI is actually trying to do in this space and whether any of it can support this kind of inner work and what the research says about where it falls short. It's a conversation that I find genuinely interesting because the promise is big and the reality is a lot more nuanced. If this episode was useful, share it with someone who might need it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is a weekly practice, a new one every Monday. It's worth having in your feed. I'll see you tomorrow.